I have here a Bachmann Union Pacific Alco S4 diesel switcher locomotive. Okay, and we're going to start with the makeshift box that I made for it because it's a consigned item that was received without the original box. And it also had some problems, and the problems actually became a little worse as I tested the locomotive. But I have cured those. But I'm here to show you that I've made a little custom-made box for it so that when it's sold, it will be delivered in that particular box. So I'm going to try this, and it might really take two hands, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pull it off. But as you can see, I've noted 2 different places or 4 different places where you can hold it in order to put the locomotive into the box. Okay, so you can grab it this way and place it in the box while holding the box. But it might be easier to grab it this way. Okay, and you can see that I've made some foam inserts of foam inside the box. It's all to protect it, and to protect more so the handrails. The handrails on this locomotive are extremely delicate. They've broken off several times. The one in the rear are probably in the best of shape, but the ones in the front, I had some issues with them. I did have them glued on there fairly decently, and then I didn't really allow them proper time to dry while I was making the box. I put them in the box, be test fitted, and then at some point I looked down and the handrails were broken again. So I re-glued them, and when I take the styrofoam off of them, you will see it. So basically, the easiest way to put this into the box is to grab it like this. Okay, lift it up and set it in the box, and the cab needs to go in a particular place. Okay, I'm going to pause it, set it in there, and then bring it back out. But if you need to, you can also grab it like this and put it in there. Okay. Okay, I set it in the box, and it's very well protected, so when it closes, you'll just bend the lip slightly. There's a bend in there, and slide the lip into the guide, and there you go, and it's really well protected at this particular point in time. Okay, so now I'll insert that entire thing into another box when I actually ship it. That is if you buy it online. Otherwise, you might see it at a show, and you can pick it up at the train show. All right, so I'm going to lift it back out. Okay, so I took it out and took the styrofoam pieces off, and now I'm going to take it over and put it on the track and let you see a test run of the locomotive. So when I received it, the locomotive was not working very well, and as mentioned, it started working even worse. One of the reasons the consignor put it up for sale is because it just wasn't doing very well. Now, I'm about to say a few things, and I say this occasionally about, different manufacturers and things of this nature. I just try to tell you guys the truth. Bachmann did not do a very good job on this. Now, don't get me wrong. It looks beautiful. It is definitely a very handsome looking locomotive. But in all honesty, the handrails are way too thin. They just aren't sturdy enough to be very useful. If you accidentally start grabbing this with your thumbs, you're going to break them. And some of the handrails were breaking. They're broken definitely in the front. And I've had to apply so much glue to put them back on that you can see that the glue has started to melt away some of the paint. Okay, so just be aware that that has occurred. And there's a break somewhere here on one of the top rails. It might be on the other side. I'm not 100% sure where it is right this minute, but one of them I had to glue back. I also had to glue back a front stanchion right here, which I think is on the opposite side. Let's try to see that. So that's kind of heavily glued, and that's all I could do to get the handrails to stay on. Okay. Now, to try to fix the problem with this thing's motion, you will notice that there is some capstan tape installed there. If you get to a point where you take the side frames off the truck, you'll look and you'll notice that Bachmann made an attempt to try to prevent the wheels from touching the frame as this locomotive moves. So they have some little dimple spots where the flanges on the wheels try not to hit the frame. Now, when I looked at it at first, it looked to me like definitely, yes, the paint that they used on the frame should make it non-electrically conductive. The type of method that they're using to pick up power are just some swipers that swipe against the back of the wheels to transfer power. And it's a method that Bachmann has been using a lot for a long time. It is not the world's best method of pulling power from the wheels in order to get it from the tracks, but it works. But in this particular case, the power leads that go from the chip inside the locomotive down to the swipers. In previous models or other models made by Bachmann, usually that wire is pretty flexible, nice and flimsy, and it works out okay. For whatever reason, the wires inside of this locomotive are a little more rigid than normal. And what appears to be the issue, to begin with, what was causing it is the stiffness of the wires as the trucks rotate to go through curves and things of that nature. It's a lot of tug and play on those wires and the contact points at which they meet the swipers. So they were broken. First time I saw it, one was broken on one side in the front and the opposite side in the back. So what was happening is you could put the locomotive down on the track and run it, and it'd move a little bit and then it'd stop. So you tap it to try to move it on. Occasionally it would restart on its own, but basically it was loosened connection. In other words, just a little bit of wire left, and it being as rigid as it was, it comes through a hole, through a pilot hole at the top of the trucks, and then tries to hit this lead, and when it's just sitting there, broken off. So as the wheel turns, it either turns away or turns into the lead, and when a connection is made, it moves. When the connection is not made, it doesn't move. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think this has much of a keep alive in it. I think there's an attempt that was made to give it some keep alive properties. It's just, it doesn't last more than a split second. And it's even worse if the sound is turned on. So if you turn the sound off, it would, stop less frequently. But the real deal is there was a problem with the items. So I fixed that at one point, and then when I fixed it, in other words, I resoldered the opposite opposing disconnected wires. Okay, and then when I did the test, it worked fine for a little bit. When I say a little bit, I mean maybe 3 to 5 minutes. It was working okay, and then all of a sudden, same thing happened. It started stopping every so on, and so I said, okay, well, all right. I didn't really want to deal with it, but I had to, so I took it back apart, and then I thought, now I didn't pull my meter out at this point. I was like, well, you know, I have some pretty high grades on my layout, especially right there as it goes to go up that. So as the trucks not just moved left or right, when they went to go move up and down, I believe they were hitting the bottom of the frame. Also, when they turn to their maximum point, they also seem to be hitting the frame. I have 18-inch radius curves, so that's relatively tight as far as things go, but it is a little switcher, so switchers should go through them with no problem. But something was occurring. So I did my best to fix that and addressed that by placing the capstan tape on there. Then I struck out early morning, yesterday morning, to make a video of it. And that was 15 to 16 minutes of pure crap. I mean, the locomotive was running worse at that point than it was before I made an attempt to fix it. And I was like, what happened? Well, the idea is, you know, to test these items that are consigned, especially locomotives or anything that's powered, is to test it out to make sure it works before I put it up online and tell you what kind of shape or condition it is in. So if I can solve the situation, that's what I'll do. I'll do my best to try to get it working and make the presentation look even better. So, you know, when I received it, you know, some of the handrails were apart. Like I said, these were broken and stuff like that. So I try to get the item in the best shape as possible. If the wheels need to be cleaned, I try to clean the wheels. But to give it a good show so that, number one, when I go to mention the details about the item, you know exactly what you're getting. You know, it's kind of hard to trust sometimes, you know, just a name of something that's sitting up there and, you know, just a set of pictures. You kind of want to know that the thing, you know, does something and how it works. And that way you can determine whether or not you want it or not. Okay? So, in the process of doing that, this one was problematic. And I have since opened it up a third time. And opening it up the third time, one of the soldered points again, the wire coming down to hit the swipers, one that I did not previously resolder broke. So now that means 3 of them. So at this point, I resoldered 3 of them. There's one that I have not resoldered. I don't know how old the locomotive is. I don't know how long the consignor had it. I don't know how often he used it. What I can tell you is that if you purchase this, you should be prepared to, at some point in time, have to resolder at least that 4th swiper connection. Because if 3 of the 4 of them have failed, just in regular use or in the, you know, just in my little testing scenario, at some point in time, that 4th one is going to fail as well. And it's hard to get to. So, you know, and when it fails, it's just going to leave a little nub of metal at the end of the wire. So the biggest challenge is you got to restrip the wire a little bit in order to resolder it. And unless you want to take the chip out and then another level of stuff that's underneath the chip so that you can get all the way down to it and, you know, pull it out and maybe work on it and then put it back together. You have to do what I did, which is you have to solder it in place. And to do that, you got to strip the wire, and then to do that, it took a while. It was a challenge, okay? And so I will tell you that my soldering job of resoldering 3 of the contacts, it's not the world's best. It's going to look a little crappy, but right now it's intact. They are staying together or staying soldered, and I now have it in the best running condition that it has been in. So it's on 28 speed steps, at least through my controllers and things of that nature. I'm going to turn it on, and I apologize that this is a very long video, but I wanted you to get a real sense of what's going on and have as much information as possible to help you evaluate purchasing the locomotive, and also have a little bit of understanding why I'm going to price it as high as I'm going to price it. I believe the retail price on it is $239. So I'm going to put it up for sale at $200. I'll see if I'm going to put that as a starting auction price or not. I'll make that determination when I actually get the listing together. But I'm expecting to get about $200 for the item. It is Bachmann. It's sound equipped. It does run. And I have it working well enough so that it runs at 1 speed step, and it can navigate my entire layout at 1 speed step, including going over, you know, like this double crossover right here, and some of the turnouts. Now, since I fixed it last time, which was about an hour or so ago, I've rented it quite a bit, letting it do its own thing. Occasionally, it does still stop right here. Now, I've run it that way forward and backwards. I've turned the locomotive around and run it through there. And only in the forward direction that it's in right now does it do that on 1 speed step occasionally. Okay? So, let's get started here. That's the long horn. Now, you may have also noticed that it started making noise as soon as I turned the power on. It has SoundTrack's sound decoder in there. However, and this is part of Bachmann's SoundValue. So the SoundValue is a streamlined version of SoundTrack's decoder. So it doesn't offer a ton of functionality. And although I didn't read all the documentation, because there is no documentation that came with this one, what you see on this box is stuff that I found on the internet, you know, a picture of the outside of the box, and a description from Trains about the item, and that's about it. So I haven't actually seen the decoder, because I didn't look up the decoder functions. And it's out of stock at Bachmann, but here again, Bachmann on their own website doesn't always provide a nice full-fledged description of their items on their website. So, you know, but they're not the only people that don't do a good job of that. You know, Walters does a great job for most of their items. I enjoy finding something on Walters because they pretty much will tell me a full-fledged description of what the item is. You look at items over at Bachmann and it shows you the name. Sometimes it'll give you a little bit of history. Sometimes it'll break it down to a couple items. I couldn't even find this on Bachmann's website. So I don't know what it's supposed to say. So the description that I'm going to provide you is basically a description as part of a review and whatever research I found. Now, if you want to find out exactly what the functions are and what you can control, feel free to do so. One thing I am going to tell you that is in the description that I found over at Trains. That's Trains with a Z. Trains suggests that this has directional dual headlight. Well, there's the rear light on. It's in the forward position, and there's the front light on. If I turn the light off, excuse me, the lights go off, front and rear. There is no option to put this in a situation where the front light only shows when you're moving forward and the rear light only shows when you're moving in reverse. At least not in the state that the Locomotive is in now. And I did do a factory reset on it. So right out of the box, I don't see it coming with directional headlighting. So I think Trains kind of missed the ball on that particular feature. It has dual headlights, front and rear, that are pretty much on when you turn them on, both of them, and they go off when you turn them off. Okay. So here's the bell. Oh, well, when you turn the power back on. Oh, and I said all that to say that there is no startup sequence that I've been able to find. Okay. So there's the bell. You hear the noise. Short horn is number 3. Long horn is number 2. Number 4 does not appear to do anything. Neither does number 5. And neither does number 6. I left one of them on number 3. Okay, number 6. And as I say these function numbers, I'm pressing the buttons. So here's F7. Again, I don't hear anything happening different. You know, number F8 mutes it and turns it back on. And then there's F9, no response. So basically, you have functions 1, 2, 3, and 8 that do anything, as far as I can tell. Okay? So, that's it. Let's give it 2 toots on the horn. And the bell will start it off. And there's your 1 speed step. And I'm using the MRC controller at the moment, so 1 speed step is, it's 1 of 28 speed steps. And I'm going to let it go. Now, I can tell you that at 1 speed step, it takes a long time to go around this top loop here. Okay? So I'm not going to put you through that agony. I've already been running this about 23 minutes. It'll probably be 28 minutes by the time I'm done. So notice it didn't stop that particular time. It would have stopped already if that were the case. It does pretty good. I'll at least let it go at 1 speed step through this first turnout. Like I said, sometimes Trains can be camera shy. I go to start the recorder and I get a totally different performance than I did before I turned the camera on. But let's see if this does what I expect it to do, which is at 1 speed step, it should go through there with no problem. I will turn the bell off there. And those are Bachmann turnouts right there. Okay, it made it through the first one, 1 speed step. So I'll go ahead and increase it a little bit. There's 2 speed steps, and I'll get it up to about a 5 or 7. Let's get it to 7%, which is 1/3. It's a maximum capacity of 28 speed steps. And I have it going downtown, so we'll let it do that. Or what I refer to as downtown. I refer to the upper part of my layout as uptown, and the lower part is downtown. Now, at one point in time, I tried to pull that graphite car. It's a Burlington Northern graphite track cleaning car. And up until about right there, it just came through it. You can pull it around the rest of my layout, but not up this hill at that point. So when pulling that car, it has a lot of friction on it, and it can challenge a locomotive to be able to pull it. But it does it. It did okay. Not great. And to be able to pull it, you need almost 20 speed steps to kind of make it around most of my layout. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to move it to 14 speed steps. And then I'll put it in reverse and let you see the difference. I'll go ahead and turn the sound off so you can see it. It makes a little bit of noise anyway, from the motor spin and stuff of that nature. And then I'll just switch the route so it's just going around the top. And then we'll put it in reverse. It gets back around here. Okay, 26 minutes, 50 seconds or so. All right, now let's put it in reverse. And you can see there's no change to the lighting. Lighting stays exactly the same. There might be some CV values that change that or change its behavior. For that, you're going to need to look that up. Okay. But again, if you took an interest in this locomotive, thanks for taking a look at it. The same consignor consigned these other two items. I'm going to review them. As you see, they're a little bit dirty too. I did clean this one up, the Union Pacific as well. This one has a really nice sound card in it, the BNSF. So look for those. And again, that's the way they came. So I'm going to change the pricing and stuff on those as well. The prices that you see right now, these are things for, without me doing a whole lot of evaluation. That's, the gentleman consigned them, handed them over to me, and that's without me doing much of anything except for just making sure that they do run. I've established that they run, and then very quickly, the night before a train show, just throw them on the table and see if anybody wanted them. So the only thing is that if they stop by to ask me questions about it, I couldn't talk to them that intelligently about the particular locomotives because I hadn't really spent a whole lot of time with them. Okay. All I knew about this one over here is that I knew it had some problems running. Exactly what those problems were, I didn't know until a couple days ago when I really dug into it. Okay. So, like I said, it is running well, very well now, compared to the way it was running. Okay. So one last thing, I left the capstan tape on there, but I have since tested the conductivity of the frame with that paint that Bachmann put on it, and it is non-electrically conductive, meaning the wheels can hit the frame if they want to. It will have no effect on it because that paint has removed the ability for the frame to conduct any electric current. Okay, so when you get it, if you choose, you can remove the capstan tape. I'm not gonna remove it, but I'll stick it back into the box that I made for it. It'll be available for sale until it's sold. Okay, it's not a bad deal. It does have Bachmann Easy Mate sprung knuckle couplers on the front and the back. They seem to still be in decent shape. I don't believe I've done anything with them. They are the way they are. So from a distance, it's not a bad deal. Now, I collect Union Pacific items. Okay, I have a lot of them, and so I want you guys to have an opportunity to purchase this. But I can tell you, I have done enough work on it that if push comes to shove, if somebody doesn't take care of this by, let's say by March, if you have not purchased this by March, I may have to consider adding it to my collection myself. I think I have a Sound Equip Union Pacific switcher. I don't know. I have to go double check, but I think I have one. But if I don't, my eyes are going to be open for this. Now, one thing I know I don't have is I don't have this one, not this Bachmann 1167. Or if I do, I haven't cataloged it yet. So I want to give, I want to make some money for the consignor, okay? So that's why I fixed this thing up to do and look its best. And so while the opportunity is available, I strongly suggest you get it. But if it gets to be about March and nobody has taken an interest in it, I have no problems in trying to add this to my collection, and I'll pay the consignor for it, okay? So thanks so much for looking at it, and I'm moving as fast as I can, which is, still got to work and do other things. So I'm going to do my best to try to get to these two as well. And because none of them had a box, I'm going to use that same little template that I used here. And I designed this myself to make this particular box. And I made it out of one larger box, which basically is made out of the sides of a box. So I took that one box apart, and that affords me the ability to make 4 of these. And this is the shorter side. So these 2 switchers here will be able to fit into the same size box, and then the larger side should accommodate that particular locomotive as well. So that's the way they're going to come. I'm going to do my best to try to replicate that, and look for it available at ShowMyHobby. And guys, let's do a good job and get this. And this consigned a lot of buildings as well. So I'm doing my best to try to get those. Now, we will be at the Asheville Fletcher Train Show sometime in February. So I'm going to throw these online as quickly as possible. Hopefully I'll get them all 3 up there, which will give you an opportunity to do what you can to get one of them. All 3 of them are DCC equipped. That one is sound. This one is sound. I'm not 100% sure about this one, so we'll have to dig into that one. That one is missing a lot of handrails. I do know that. So have at it. Thanks again.